Yeah, the other day a little doggy. There's a lot of dogs in this building that I live in. And the wonderful thing about it is that I don't smell them, which is great. And this one dog, he wanted my attention, and the owner just kept pulling on him. And the dog is looking at me like, come to me, come to me. And I just look at him and I say, don't worry about it. I see you and I know you.
Go to him with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Acknowledge him.
He wanted me to acknowledge him. And I did that. And that's been happening a lot lately.
Well, it's like your inner being never takes eyes off of you. Just acknowledging that is really helpful. You can get that connection if you just acknowledge. If you acknowledge the existence of your inner being, do you? Do you acknowledge the existence of your inner being's interest in what you are about? And do you acknowledge that your inner being has a whole lot of momentum around all of that? And doesn't the idea of lining up with that appeal to you in lots of ways?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Most people come up here with labels and accomplishments. My accomplishment is just being here.
We want to give you something because we know you're leading to something that you think is good, but we want to help you clean it up before you get there. Do you know that all that you've lived, everybody too, all that you've lived has brought you to here, but you've lived so much more than you can even begin to understand. And where you've come to is more magnificent than you are willing to acknowledge. And humans do so much of what you were just about to do. They stand in their now beingness in constant comparison to the now beingness of the others they are witnessing. And almost nobody doing that feels the fullness of who they are. Where instead, if you could acknowledge the enormous variables of what others have lived, not just in this physical experience, but in all of them, and who that means that they are, and you would just throw a blanket over the whole of it and acknowledge it as humanity or beingness and creation and contrast and variety and the bouncing off place for everyone, instead of trying to isolate it and compare yourself to any of it. And then you would give your undivided attention, or mostly just lean in that direction, as we've been asking you to do all day here today, to the connection that you have with your inner being. This is the way to say this. Your inner being has lived everything with you as you have lived it. And your inner being stands in complete knowledge of all that you are as a result of all that you've lived. But your inner being never looks back. Your inner being takes that beingness and only looks forward. So you got here and you've propelled so much forward, and your inner being is looking only there. And so when you do that, so now let's rework that sentence that you were about to offer. You were saying, unlike others who do blah, blah, blah. What was the blah, blah, blah the others do?
Labels.
I'm a this, or I'm a that, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, or I'm a this, or I'm a that. Is what you want to say is, I am a powerful creation and I'm a work in progress? Where were you going before we interrupted you?
I have a very old vibration. I don't want to say...
We don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Right, you're absolutely right.
There's no point in activating it. It's not where you're going. It's not who you are. It's in your way, and it's a damn label.
Yes.
It's more than a label. It's much worse than a label. It's an active vibration that keeps controlling what's coming to you. Labels are not the way. Labels that people give themselves are not the reason that things are coming to them. How they feel, which the label sometimes implies or reinforces, is evidence of what they're offering vibrationally, but their point of vibration is not about the label. And so if you're saying it accurately, other people who come and they've got a vibration or a point of attraction, they have a label, and I come and I've got a point of vibration and I don't feel like labeling it. We say the label was irrelevant anyway, so now what?
Right. You're right.
But Abraham, I am in a state of being. So is everybody else.
Right, right.
So what's the distinction about? It's about the constant comparison that people make of themselves.
Yeah.
So what's a better plan? We've been saying it all day. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do instead of so much of that?
I focus on me. I focus on what I want. I focus on my journey, my being, basically, my being. And sometimes I complicate that in my head.
Do you think you have the power as a result of the conversation we've had today? Do you think you have the power to focus upon the being who dwells in the vortex rather than the being who's sitting here in the chair?
Yeah.
Because until you do that, you're just another label. Do you believe that there is a dream to be dreamed? Have you ever had something just drop into your mind and you say it just came out of nowhere? Well, nothing comes out of nowhere. It came out of somewhere. And so do you accept that there are things to drop into your experience that are ready for you? And don't you want to be ready for that?
I always want to be ready.
All right, so we'll listen to you fully. What's on your mind? What did you want to talk to us about?
What I wanted to talk about was the ego and how it gets in the way of confidence.
Well, it's a big subject. The ego is the label that humans apply to where they stand. We're not trying to talk you out of having consciousness that is focused. We just want you to focus on the inner being ego.
So what I've learned from Eckhart Tolle was ego is negative. Ego is your negative state of mind. And ego is your doubt, is your fear. Ego keeps you from what you're wanting.
Well, there's a label then that when you define that label in that way, then all of those things that you say would be what your experience is. But ego is just a word, and you could say that ego is a point of focus. So if you took your egotistical self and you said, I'm going to do something that feels good to me today, and you took your egotistical self and you focused upon the beauty of a sunset or the beauty of a beast or something, and you got yourself tuned in, and then you took your egotistical self and you did something that he would like. You quieted your mind. You quieted your mind as in meditation. So you stopped thought. That's what meditation accomplishes. And when you stop thought, you stop all resistance. And when you stop resistance, you allow your vibration to rise. And guess where it goes? To your super ego. It goes to the consciousness of who you are, because you are a point of consciousness, and you can call it whatever you want to call it. We know why so many people point that out in a negative way. We're putting you in two piles. You can go to Eckhart Tolle and you can say, well, I talked to Abraham, and Abraham says we're all in two piles, and we're either in the pile under the source or we're in some other pile. And he would have another way of defining that too. But we have to tell you that if your beingness never ceases to be, if you are an eternal being, and if all of these lifetimes you've honed out what you really want, and what you really want is the best of all that you've lived, and then the source within you is focused upon that, can you imagine the bigness and the goodness of that point of view?
Imagination is big.
And so we don't know why you want to call that a positive ego and that a negative. In other words, we call it alignment in this moment or not alignment in this moment. So what's your point? And we're appreciating how easily it was for you to understand what we were getting at. You said, and that ego causes what?
It stops my momentum of my wanting. Because I see it as a negative thing instead of seeing it.
You see what you're doing? You're giving back to us the seminar that we gave to you today in different words.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, I'm so wrapped up in the what is that I can't move forward. And then we say, but the what is has caused you to launch some rockets of desire. And those rockets of desires have congealed, and your inner being's over there, and they're calling you forward.
It trickles in for me. Yeah, it trickles in. That wanting, it trickles in. And
so what do you want? What
I don't.
This is a very poignant, and we're not beating up on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can just feel the power of your ability to get to where you want to go. So what is it that you now know that you didn't know when you framed up this bogus question?
I'm a newborn.
What do you now know? What do you now know that you didn't know when you thought that's what you wanted to talk about? We talked all day long to head that off, and we were not able to head it off. Because you've practiced that for so long, and so has everybody else. It's not easy to see your world through the eyes of Source when your world is accustomed to having these knee-jerk responses to things. But we wanted to awaken within you an understanding of the laws of the universe, and an understanding of how your inner being really feels, and of what's over there, and what the potential is, what the potential of joy is. And these kinds of conversations just keep you all spinning in your juices as you debate what is the meaning of this, and what is the meaning of that, and what is the meaning meaning of this, and I need to contemplate that, and I need to think about this phase of my life. And we say, no, you don't. Here you stand as this powerful being who has only one thing to be aware of. What is my, right now, human relationship with my inner being, who is all that I have ever asked for to be? What's my relationship with that? And you can tell by the way you feel. Does this feel like an easy thing to do, or does it feel complicated?
It's new. It's new. That's what it is. It's very, very new. I feel like I'm being born every day now.
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah. I'm born again.
Well, every moment's a new moment, and every moment there's a different combination of beings. This combination of being, right here and now, is entirely different from what this exact bunch of people was a few hours ago. You are different. You're in a different vibrational place. And as you move forward into your days, the difference that happened as a result of these hours that we've been together will be reflected in the way things unfold. And our asking of you is that you just be alert and aware of the difference in the way things unfold because of the shift at your axis. There's been a shift at the core of that which you are, and you've let it in varying degrees, and you'll see the difference in every relationship that you have. Relationship with people, certainly, but relationship with everything. Relationship with your body, relationship with the world, relationship with politics, relationship with money has shifted because you are now aware of a vibrational reality that you hold ownership. You've got the title and the deed to all of it. And all that was ever necessary for you to experience the deliciousness of it unfolding for you is to sync up with it and let it flow in. We're going to go back to the analogy that our friend was talking about the vehicles. So we are visiting with a woman the other day who was talking about her work environment and just used the word vehicle. It's the vehicle that I'm right now earning my living with and so forth. And so we seized on the word vehicle and we said, it's like here you are in this vehicle and you're moving along in this vehicle and it is satisfying you or not. It's doing whatever it's doing as you observe it. But as you're driving along, you look over and there's another vehicle there that is fresh and new and a better representation of who you now are. That's what you're going to notice in the next hours even. So now you're moving along in that vehicle, and it's what it is, and you didn't change that much, and things are a lot the same, but you are shifting, and you are feeling better, and you are leaning more in the direction of allowing yourself to feel who you are, and you look over and there's another vehicle. So you just get in there and off you go again. No great difference, just incremental differences. But each time you shift a little into this different vehicle, you have access to different people, to different conversations, to different memories of your own, even to different dreams that are coming out of your vortex. And then we said to her, and this is the point that we really want you to hear. Most of you, with that analogy, you think that this vehicle is going to take you to this place that you want to be. And you just want to get in the vehicle that will just get you there. And we say, there is not ever going to be a vehicle that will get you there. It's going to be a constant state of new exposure to new contrast that launches new desires that you then find alignment with. And once you become at one with that idea, once you understand that there's nothing that's going to rocket you to the place that you think you want to be, that isn't how it works. There's just the next and the next and the next. So don't you think, dramatic pause, drum roll, don't you think that since this is the inevitability of the eternal nature of all of us, don't you think it's time to start just looking for the positive aspects in the vehicle that you're in? Don't you think it's a wonderful thing to stand where you are and ask your inner being what your inner being sees about where you stand? As you have that mindset, then the richness of where you are stops being that negative ego. You're still in the same vehicle. You're still in the same body, but you're using your mind to focus in a way that serves you rather than defeats you, in a way that empowers you, in a way that takes you, yes, more swiftly to where you want to go. But friends, we want you to know, since there's no end to the journey, why are you in such a hurry? If there's no end, and you know what your answer would be if you could individually answer? I'm not trying to end the journey. I'm just in a hurry to get to a place I like better than the place that I'm in. And we say, therein lies your problem. If you want to be someplace else because you don't like where you are, you can't get to a better feeling place. That's why you just keep chugging along. You see what we're getting at? Did you get that?
Yeah.
That was a pretty good way of hearing it.
Yeah, sure.
We've enjoyed this interaction.